Hi all. These are generally conversations between adults after the children have left the table. The language can be spicy and the subjects can get saucy. So if you're ready, this is the Southern Fork. Unscripted kitchen chats and also studio chats with some of the most interesting voices in the culinary South. I'm Stephanie Burt, a food and beverage writer based in Charleston, South Carolina, who travels with her fork to write for a variety of publications, from magazines you might have on your coffee table to the website you love to visit for your favorite recipes. And I'm inviting you to come behind the scenes with me to get to know the people who make this Southern culinary landscape so special. I'm always hungry for the next bite, thirsty for that next sip, and ready for the next conversation. Let's dig in. The Southern Fork is honored to be presented again this year by Townsend Automotive in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Celebrating 50 years of service in Tuscaloosa and West Alabama, the Townsend family of dealerships has been a locally owned company built on service and connection with its customers. At Townsend Honda, with new cars in short supply, they've purchased more than 200 quality pre-owned vehicles. And every one of them goes through a 118-point inspection before it's offered for sale to you. Most of those vehicles are either Honda Certified Pre-Owned or Townsend Certified Pre-Owned, and the dealership also has a fully staffed parts and service department to assist you beyond the purchase day throughout the life of your vehicle. That includes Saturday service, which is available until 1 p.m., even during football season. Visit townsendhonda.com for current inventory, or if you're in West Alabama, stop in. Townsend Honda salutes local entrepreneurs, from restaurateurs to podcasters, and they welcome you to be part of a community that does the same. If you didn't already employ them to make a takeout dish this week for your Thanksgiving table, chances are you'll probably meet some friends at some point at a restaurant during the holidays to celebrate. There are 15 million people working in the hospitality industry in the United States, and 63% of entry-level restaurant workers identify as female. But among those in restaurant leadership, that number is closer to 38%. The Women Culinary and Spirits program of the Lee Initiative, based in Louisville, Kentucky, has a goal to elevate more women into leadership positions within the industry, with the mindset that doing so increases equity and diversity. Mentees are experienced professionals in the early to mid stages of their food and beverage careers, and they're ready to take the next steps toward becoming industry leaders. Sous chef Taylor Jarvis of Nicewonder Farm and Vineyards in Bristol, Virginia, is one such mentee. And this year, she was paired with James Beard winner and Top Chef alum Chef Nina Compton, whose restaurants Compère Lapin and Bywater are in New Orleans, Louisiana. We dig into their experience and their insights together. Welcome to the Southern Fork, you two.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, I'm so excited to have you in 3 parts of the country today. And I'm sitting in South Carolina. Taylor, you're sitting in beautiful Bristol, Virginia, because I have been to Nicewonder, right as it was preparing to open. So excited. And of course, beautiful New Orleans, Chef Nina. So thank you so much for taking time to chat with me today. But it would be so much better if we could all spend time together in person.
That would be great.
I'm having you chat with me today because even though you are far away, you spent time in the same kitchen together because of the Lee Initiative. Taylor, can you tell us a little bit how this came about?
Well, I had a previous boss who was in the program. She was mentee 2 years before I was. She really enjoyed the program. And when I started working at my new job, she really encouraged me to apply. So I applied. I was a little hesitant, but it's really been great.
Chef Nina, when you are actually thinking about working with this, I know this is a female-focused program, part of a larger amount of things that the Lee Initiative really does, based out of Kentucky. Why is it important to you to be involved?
I think it's very important for not only myself, but other, women in the industry or any industry to have a mentorship program set up, because when I was coming up in this industry, I didn't have anybody I could ask any advice or solutions to things. I was just cooking my way through. And also, back then, there weren't that many women in the kitchen or women chef owners, so there was nobody I could really go to. So this program really, is a program that becomes a family, an extended family of women that ask for help, see how things are done in other restaurants, other businesses, and they're picking up things and they're taking that back to their restaurants and applying those things. So I think it's a really great program to help women just really do their thing.
I just have to say that's such a wonderful way to explain it. But I think a lot of chefs who are listening to the show and who take the time to listen to the Southern Fork are thinking it's so difficult to run a high level kitchen like the one that you run. And then you're adding in this. That requires a level of patience and a level of presence that a lot of kitchens don't have. It's almost like Fred Astaire singing and dancing at the same time. How do you train the other people in your kitchen to deal with this as well, or provide a good example?
Well, I think that the biggest thing is, when you have a guest in your restaurant, the most important thing is, I tell my staff, I'm like, hey, we're going to have somebody in, and just make them feel welcome, guide them along the way. And, the time that we have together in the kitchen is not very long, but it's just really giving them the full tour of how we do production, how do we do service, how do we close the restaurant, different systems we have in place are really important. And just making sure that they have the most information available before they leave. And I think that's really important. And also what I try and do with each mentee that comes in is really just sit them down and ask them, how are they doing? What do you want to learn? Because maybe I'm teaching them something that they already know. And I think it's just really about getting an insight of what they want to come out with at the end of the program.
And Taylor, how did you answer that question? What did you want to learn?
Well, currently I'm really struggling, I would say, with just management in general. After COVID, there's definitely been like a shift in the industry and just trying to figure out how to manage my staff and manage myself at the same time. It's been quite a task. So I really just needed some assistance with figuring out how to do my job better, honestly.
Yeah. And what was your first impression? What was your first takeaway from your time in Nina's kitchen?
She's so strong. She's such a strong, empowering woman to be around. Just like her presence in the kitchen and in the restaurant, it's really impressive. All of her staff just really respect her and appreciate her knowledge, and it's a really nice environment to be in.
Nina, this is still a man's world.
It is.
And so how do you approach your job through the lens of gender? Because I think we have to address that, right?
Yes. And, that's one of the things that definitely has become, I think, harder along the way because, as we know, men have been running kitchens from the beginning of this actual restaurant industry becoming an industry. So when you look back at, people saying a woman's place was in the kitchen, that's not the case presently. It's harder for women to be in the kitchen because some of them are moms. Some of them are, taking their kids to school. They're basically doing 2 full-time jobs. So for me, being a woman in the kitchen, it was really about making women feel welcome in the kitchen, number one, empowering them, showing them that, hey, this is possible and, we can do this. Also, letting them know that we cannot really show any signs of weakness because, people prey on that. And, you can't expose yourself to those things. And it's just really about setting the example and being very fair. At the same time is also very important because you can't say, well, it's because I'm a woman or it's because he's a guy. As a woman in the kitchen, you have to try twice as hard. And, once you prove yourself, people are like, okay, she can handle it. She's a real woman boss. Like one of the things I told Taylor, I'm like, it's not an easy job, especially when you're managing people and you're managing men. Your approach to managing people and training people, you have to find creative ways because not everybody's the same. Not everybody responds well to certain things. So you really have to find that creative outlet of how can I get the best out of this person.
Yes. And it is about inspiring a lot more than intimidation, right?
Yes, it is. And I think that Taylor mentioned the shift in the industry. To find management in the industry right now is very hard. A lot of people don't want to be sous chefs. They don't want to be owners because they see what the industry went through the past couple of years. So for me, I'm still fighting because I believe in this industry. And things, if I continue fighting, then people will follow, hopefully follow, and keep the light alive because it is a beautiful industry. We do a lot of beautiful things. We create great memories for people when they want to come to your restaurants, become creative, and you have this second family of being in the kitchen. And I think that we have to be hopeful. I think that's the best thing we can do.
Yes, and you answered the next question. What if it's so hard? What about it is inspiring to you? Taylor, why did you think it was good to get into this industry? And when the going got tough, you decided to double down and take the time to do something like this.
With my career, I didn't really have an option. I'm a mom. I'm a very young mom. So, financial wise, I didn't have any option but to work through COVID.
But now you feel like you have more of an option?
Yeah, it's lightening up a little bit. Mm-hmm. I would say it's definitely still struggling in terms of like staffing and hiring, but it's getting better.
Tell me what a typical day is for you right now at Nicewonder. Will you give us kind of an illustration of what the day is like? A lot of listeners have never spent time in a professional kitchen.
Yeah, so as sous chef, I manage breakfast and lunch. And then I'm also managing prep and just the staff in general. So I come in around 6 or 7 a.m. and then I usually work on the line through breakfast and lunch. And then during that time, I'm prepping for dinner and then also just like writing prep lists for the staff who are coming in. Our PM line cooks probably come in around 3. So I've got a good amount of time during my day to get all of like the big proteins prepped and pasta. I do fresh pasta. But it's a full day. I never have enough time when I leave work.
And when do you leave work usually?
Well, right now my son's in football, so football practice has me leaving at 5. Mm-hmm. But if I don't have a time restraint, I will usually stay a little bit through dinner service. Just the anxiousness of leaving work to be managed on its own. It's a stressful thing.
Nina, I was wondering what you get out of the mentor relationship, mentor-mentee, and what you learn since this is a tough industry, beyond hope.
It is. And, like Taylor said, I think that the industry was hard before COVID and it's even harder now. And I think that the light just some days feel further and further away because, you're just constantly trying to catch your breath, make sure the staff aren't getting burnt out, making sure that, people have work-life balance. And you're juggling a lot of hats when you're, in a management position now more than ever. The last thing that's actually the focus is the food and the plate sometimes because you're so busy putting out fires each day. But for me, when I have these young women come into my kitchen, they're so bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and eager because it's a fresh new canvas for them to see how things are done. So for me, that's inspiring because I look at them and I'm just like, there's still hope in the industry because there's still women coming into the kitchens still being managers, still being sous chefs, still being owners. So for me, that's what's inspiring, because now there are more women in the kitchens, there are more women owners. So for me, whatever information or whatever help I can, give people, I definitely want to do that. And Taylor, I just want to say that I'm not that tough, but you're equally as tough as me. And I can see that. I think that you are such a talented person. When you came to the kitchen, I said, well, do you want to make this savory beignet, which I'm still dreaming of?
Thank you.
What did she make? Will you repeat that?
She made us, we were talking about doing a menu addition, and I said, I have an idea for this savory beignet, and she was talking about her baking skills, and I'm like, well, let's go ahead and try it. And I remember everybody's eyes just lighting up because they were so excited about this. Like you said, Taylor, the days are long, the days are stressful. I today feel like I don't have enough time. I'm like, okay, I have to go roll spaghetti, work on this menu addition for fall, and then go to the other restaurant, but changing the menu there. And I definitely can relate to you just feel like you don't have enough time. But, I think the biggest thing that we can do is just really take 10 minutes for ourselves. And I think that, we just get so stuck of just going all day long that don't take 5 minutes to have a cup of coffee and catch our breath, or eat family meal. And I think that those things are really important, because to be sustainable in this industry, we have to preserve our light in order to preserve others' lights.
And I think that is one of the biggest things coming out of COVID, really, is that the idea of us being factories and almost 24-hour a day production machines is really, really hard when the industry is dealing with a major staff crisis, and as well as dealing with some diners that aren't interested in new things, and they wish that it were just like it was before. How are you building the new? Taylor, do you want to be the first person to talk about that? You are working at a new place.
Yeah, we just opened, which is really exciting. We have this brand new kitchen. Being the first people in it,
it's kind of fancy.
It's really fancy. I mean, we're setting systems and we're organizing the kitchen in ways that it's going to be like this forever, which is like a really cool and exciting process to see and to watch and know that, in 10 years, there's going to be another chef in here and something in here is still going to be of me, Right. So it's a really fun process. And also just having new staff come in, training new people. Our area maybe doesn't have the best selection of food. We're the only fine dining restaurant. So the staff that we have are very eager to learn more and they want to get out of corporate, which is really fun. We're training people every day on new things and new tasks. So it's really cool. We get to watch the progress of our staff happen, and that's really exciting.
That is a fun place. And Nina, you are known as such a creative chef. How do you find that well of creativity after dealing with the aforementioned everything else that you're dealing with?
It's sometimes I do have some very creative days, and some days I am just spent. But, it really comes down to, seasonality. It comes down to, getting a phone call from a fisherman or a farmer saying, hey, I have these beautiful, mushrooms. And then I'd say, send me a case. So inspiration really comes from that, or, just really bouncing ideas off my staff. I have some really, really creative people with me that really do care. And, I'm starting to now give them, the chance to do that. So if I say, hey, I have an idea for this cake, and my baker will make the cake, I'm like, well, how about you plate it? Let's see what you can do. And really getting them out of their shells and more comfortable, because it is a very daunting thing when, you're making a special and, the staff are trying it and, it may not be, a 10 out of 10, but I'm trying to do that with my staff, of giving them the creative freedom of, putting dishes on the menu and having ideas, because at the end of the day, that makes us a better restaurant, because it's not just me coming up with the ideas all the time.
That goes back to the idea of the Lee initiative in general, is helping the industry to grow. And sometimes you have to help the industry to stabilize, right? During COVID, that's why the Lee Initiative started. But now it's growing other chefs in your kitchen, right, Nina? And Taylor, for you, it's setting systems in place so that your staff can respond to them. I also just have to say, when it comes down to the food, Taylor, you had to eat some delicious food in Nina's kitchen. What'd you have for staff meal that day?
Oh, the staff meal was great. It was the best staff meal I've ever had in the kitchen. One day they made pasta, which was really good. I enjoyed it. It was like a bolognese type deal. I'm not sure what it was. It was really good though. But then one night Nina invited me in to eat, and I got to come in and have dinner, which is not something I get to do by myself normally anyways, is eat dinner alone. So to be in her restaurant and eating, and they sent out everything. I got to try everything. It was amazing.
Cool.
Nina, were you going to say something?
Well, that's the whole purpose is, I think the food tastes good in the kitchen, but it tastes 10 times better when you're actually sitting down and enjoying it. I'm sure, Taylor, you can relate to this when everybody's eating family meal, they're, scooping it out of a deli cup or like, stooping down and eating family meal. But I think you enjoy food a little bit more when you're able to sit down and really process all the flavors and take your time. And I think that's something that's really special for me when I have people coming into my kitchen is them experiencing the dining room, because, that's an element that I think everybody should experience, because it really is a dance when people are in the dining room eating and the staff are serving them and they're taken care of. We want to take care of people.
What is one thing that you wish a diner would know about working in a professional kitchen? I'm going to ask that of both of you. This is your time to tell them what is something that you wish that they could realize or you want them to know.
I think that just as much as us as managers have to maintain this, is that the people cooking the food are humans and not robots. And people, struggle so much outside of work, and nobody really knows what's going on with someone. And just as much as the diner, they could be having a really bad day, and when they get their steak that's overcooked, it could ignite some bad feelings. But, the cook as well could be having a really bad day, and accidents happen, and maybe a little bit more understanding of the situation. I feel like patience sometimes would really help situations.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that everybody, we're not trying not to perform at our best every day. We are trying every day as a team collectively. But I think what I want the diner to know when they come into the restaurant is that, as everywhere else, as we've seen on the news, inflation is a thing. So during the pandemic, food prices are all the way up. Everybody's paying their staff more. Sometimes we can't get products in-house. And I think that the consumer needs to be a little more forgiving in the sense of we're trying to make it work every single day, but we have to raise our prices to reflect those, costs that go up. And I think a lot of people just expect restaurants to, we're not making a ton of money, but it's a business at the end of the day. And, it's a very important thing that we provide healthcare for our staff. They have a living wage. That's really important to a lot of us. And in order for us to do that, we have to raise our prices.
So, we've talked a lot about things that are difficult, but you both are still in this business and performing at super high levels. And I just have to ask you, what is making you hungry? What are you excited about?
I am excited for the opportunity of change that's happening in the industry. I think that we have a time right now to rewrite the rules that we have all been taught. And, it's kind of just starting on ground zero. It's really nice to see employees standing up for themselves and wanting change in their work environment. And I think as long as the really loud ones stay loud about maintaining a healthy and safe work environment, I think that we're definitely making good waves towards it.
I agree. I think what I'm most excited about is seeing all the different cultural foods, in restaurants. Seeing, a Senegalese restaurant open up, or an Ethiopian restaurant or a Haitian restaurant or a Mexican restaurant where you have people that are really beaming with pride about their culture and how they grew up and cooking that in their restaurants. I think that for me is very exciting right now.
It is something that is wonderful for me. My whole life, I've wanted to travel. I've been into travel, and I remember being a child and just staring at the globe and having food cooked by the people of a home country is a great way to travel really easily and to support local community at the same time. It's a nice combo of being far away and around the corner. So I'm really excited about seeing that shift in our business. Not that anybody's asking my opinion about that right now. I wasn't asking that question for myself, but, what is one aspect of each of you that's part of your natural personality that really fits with an aspect of this job that you've taken for yourself?
My personality fits well with the chaos, but it also really works well in the downtimes when it's just time to like get some computer work done and do budgets and price out menus and stuff like that. But then working on the line and you're in the middle of dinner service and, you know, you're 20 tickets deep and you can't see out of the weeds. Have to be able to balance both of those situations, and everyone expects you to do it well. So I think being able to switch your personality to handle both is helpful in the kitchen. And I'm definitely able to switch personalities quickly. So
that's good. Are you a Gemini?
No, I'm a Libra. So like, you know, the scales.
You got the
birthday,
scales.
Taylor?
Oh, it was yesterday, actually.
Happy birthday. I'm the 16th of October, so I'm a Libra as well.
Oh, Libra's got to stick together. We're in it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, we have that happy balance, you know, of rolling with things. And I think that's a good trait that Libras have. But I think for me, it's patience, having an understanding. You know, I think that when people make a mistake, I very rarely blow up about those things, you know, and it's really about coaching. Half the time they're like, I don't know. And I tell them why, because that's an opportunity that I take to teach somebody something. So I think patience is definitely something that is very helpful in the kitchen.
Yes. And I've always noticed, I mean, this is the first time we've chatted on the Southern Fork, but we have interacted before, and you always just have a calm presence. I'm sure that that's wonderful to work under. It can also be pretty scary, I'm sure.
A poker face.
Exactly. All right. For both of you, quick fire. What is one thing keeping you up at night?
Ooh, is a dishwasher going to show up?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, mine's like, is the morning person going to show up? You know, because it's like there's one person who comes in the morning, and if they don't show up, we don't have breakfast service. Yeah. So I always go to bed just really hoping that person's alarm goes off in the morning.
Well, and that's a good point to make for both of you, that this is very much an individual striving business. You have to have a very important skill level, but you also are working as a team, and that team can go down if one of those individuals is not part of it, right?
Agreed.
All right. Since you have agreed to be interviewed together and you've already spent time together and experienced each other's cooking style in a professional kitchen, I would love for you to build a magic picnic basket. Now, this is my dream meal scenario question. We have a lot of these in the food industry. We'll sit around and say, man, that's the best thing I ever had. Or if I only have one more meal in my life, I want it to be this. But I would like to bring you some of your favorite things. They do not have to go together in a formal picnic, but because you're together, I would love for you to put a couple things in there, each, and I can time travel to get somebody to make one more bite of something you would like. I can source a little bit and I can cook. Though after hearing about your beignets, Taylor, I'm probably not going to offer up my pound cake. So what can I put in that basket for you?
Ooh,
that's pretty easy. I just need some good cheese and a crusty baguette and some chilled wine. I'm very low maintenance.
What kind of cheese, though?
It would be Epoix.
And the chilled wine, we're going with a light red or a crisp white?
Crisp white.
Love it. Yeah, I will join you. Okay, Taylor?
Ooh, I had the best chocolate cake I think I've ever had in my life at Nina's restaurant, and I dream about it a lot. Even tried to recreate it, didn't work. So I would definitely say the chocolate cake. Gotta have the chocolate cake. But also just a ham sandwich on white bread. It's the best. So definitely have a ham sandwich.
I will only include that if you allow me to slather Duke's mayonnaise on it.
Only Duke's.
Well, if people want to learn more about these two wonderful female chefs, as well as the work of the Lee Initiative, you can go to thesouthernfork.com. Of course, I've already interviewed someone from the Lee Initiative before, and also someone from Nicewonder Vineyards, Farm and Vineyards before. I'm not going to tell you who that is. You have to go to their episode page, and I'm going to have links there to those episodes as well as images so you can see the faces behind the voices. If you like what you hear, there are more than 300 other interviews in the archives that will give you a behind the scenes seat, even sometimes at staff meal. So thanks so much for taking the time to chat with me and dealing with the fact that I really, despite being in new media, hate to work in technology when I'm not sitting across from you.
Well, thank you for having us.
Hello and welcome to Talking with My Mouth Full. I bet a lot of you know that this coming Tuesday is now termed Giving Tuesday, which is really a big donation push for a lot of nonprofits. And of course, the Lee Initiative is a nonprofit. They're a 501c3 organization, and they would, of course, welcome your donations. But I really wanted to showcase this joint interview this particular time of year because I really wanted you to hear the day in and day out kind of work that happens in professional kitchens. And I especially wanted you to hear that this time of year. Why? Because as somebody who worked in the industry for years, I can tell you it's one of the best times and one of the worst times of the year. If you are front of house, that means if you are a server, a sommelier, a host, there are opportunities for larger tips with special parties, with special events, and more to-go items, things of that nature. But your hours on both sides, both front and back of house, are very long. It's a high pressure situation. Every night you want to do your best in a restaurant, whether you're front or back of a house. That means you treat all tables as a special event. However, there are a lot of big groups that rent private dining rooms. There are a lot of engagements this time of year, all kinds of company Christmas parties, and restaurants are some of our third spaces in the U.S., and a lot of that takes place at the tables at a restaurant, and that really adds a lot of pressure. There are sometimes special menus, and in an industry that is really still majorly suffering after the pandemic, but definitely dealing with inflation and a staff shortage, this is going to be a really tough season for them. So on this Giving Tuesday and throughout the season, I would ask you to give some grace and some patience. And remember Taylor and Nina back on the line, working, doing expo, working on prep, pricing out menus, things like that. There are hundreds and thousands of people that will be supporting your dining experiences, you personally, your dining experiences this holiday season. And some of them are very young mothers like Taylor, and many, many more of them are working extremely hard to bring the best that they can to your table. So thanks so much for listening. I will, of course, be eating some turkey leftovers today until I've just had enough. Talk to you next week.
You've been listening to The Southern Fork. I can't wait to bring you more culinary conversations.
But in the meantime, I have one question. Are you going to eat all that?